Many voters in Christchurch seem fed up. They're disillusioned by the state of the country, dismayed by the calibre of politicians these days. So this by-election is really about political credibility. The Conservatives have to show that they didn't betray the people who voted for them at the general election. The Liberal Democrats have to demonstrate that they're more than just a repository for protest votes. And Labour have to somehow come third and still look like a real political force in the south of England. All the parties have quite a lot to prove. Ferndown Travel in the centre of the constituency has survived the recession. But John Slatham still feels let down by politicians who seem untrustworthy and incompetent in equal measure. One politician in particular. Is it the fault of the leadership rather than their policies?
I see it as the fault of the leadership. I see it also as the fault of the men involved in the business with him. It's not all his fault, I would assume, but I'm probably a bit merciless as far as that's concerned.
To slay the dragon of despondency, enter stage right the government's champion. Bright-eyed and ever-eager, Rob Hayward, thwarted at every turn. He laid into New Age travellers. The government teetered on the brink of a general election. He talked up the recovery. Mr Major talked down his cabinet. The press got to talk dirty.
Bastard.
Well, who would feel like laughing? He's done his best, handicapped all the way by the man in grey, who he says is stronger, much stronger than he seems.
The question which I believe he shows, but to those people who look at it specifically and carefully, and that's determination to achieve, which he has shown throughout. It's a question of getting that message across, because he has got it, and he's got it in absolutely huge quantities.
But nobody can see it down here.
Well, I don't think I'd agree with you on nobody, but I think there is the question, and that's been my job.
Not an easy one. The voters here don't even trust the government on law and order. They feel menaced. So we spent a night with the police searching for the crime wave. It's not exactly downtown LA.
What we would more often see is certainly attending burglaries in the Christchurch area. We get a lot of crime thefts from cars at beauty spots. That's certainly a day-to-day event. And in between that, who knows what might happen.
The only call-out was a false alarm. But the Tory party's alarm will be real enough if this good man of Christchurch loses. His minder is already rehearsing for failure.
There's always the headless chicken element within any party that, views any defeat as a total tragedy. On the other hand, I think one's got to take the message of by-elections. I mean, clearly, if electors are trying to say something to us, then it's important that we learn what that may be, and perhaps either not make the same mistakes again, or try to be more attentive to their concerns in the future.
Labour provided the background music, while the Liberal Democrats picked up the votes. Grey-haired and homely, the candidate tuned in to the discordant noise of discontent.
I'm on your side. Thank you very much. Thank you.
A policy for every protester, outrage at VAT on fuel, a speciality. And it looks like it's paid off. All politicians pretend to despise them. All politicians eagerly await their blessing, the opinion polls. At Liberal Democrat headquarters, the first indications were received with some trepidation. Did the Tories have a prayer?
Do we have any other data, demographics, or...?
This is all we've got at the moment.
Minutes later, they had more. Another oracle had spoken. It seemed they were on track.
The M1, which I don't think is what you told me. So
No, that's okay.
22, 54, 7, and 17, don't know, or others.
So, how to play this good news? What should the voters be encouraged to read into the figures?
Well,
Agent Willie Rennie had to call the boss to get the wording of the soundbite. It doesn't always come right the first time.
Hello, have I got the right number? Is it for Paddy Ashton? No, I've got the wrong number.
Willie!
They get through in the end.
Well, by-elections do make a difference. They can change things. Nothing motivates a politician more than fear of losing their seat. And when the Liberal Democrats won Eastbourne, Conservative MPs panicked and they changed their leader. When the Liberal Democrats won the Ribble Valley by-election, Conservative MPs panicked and they had to change the poll tax. And when the Liberal Democrats won the Newbury by-election, John Major panicked and had to change his Chancellor. And what they must do now as a result of this by-election is not just change the ministers, they must change the policies. And they should start with VAT and domestic fuel bills.
So is it all just negative? What are Paddy's policies? In the school hall in Christchurch, he strode onto the stage, determined to whip him into a lather, promising decency and dignity, apple pie with all the trimmings.
Vote for fair and just taxation in this country. Vote for responsible economic management. Vote for prudent public investment.
Policies to applaud at any age. And John Slatham, listening at the back, came away mighty impressed with Paddy's rhetoric. But is he now a true believer? So you'll vote for them in a by-election?
Yes.
General election?
I need to know a lot more about their overall strategy.
And are you clear what they would do to your tax bill?
No, I'm not totally clear yet. Not totally clear.
The journalist didn't seem totally clear either. More worryingly, neither did the politicians. The Tories dragged out their usual charge. Fine promises, where's the cash coming from? Income tax, they said. How much? We said.
Are we talking about the penny on income tax for the election? 5 pence, 10 pence, 2 or 3 pence? Which of these options is it?
I don't know, ask the Tory candidate. He may have more information.
So a journalist coined a slogan to take Christchurch by storm.
Vote for us. We have no idea what it's going to be, but it'll be really good.
No, that isn't what I said. And what I'm saying is that we want to change the system. We cannot tell you what the situation will be when we change it, what level income tax will be, what level national insurance will be.
They design what they say with great care. The mail drops are well targeted. But how much can the Liberal Democrats claim the message is really getting through?
I would not pretend for a second that every vote that we get agrees with every dot and comma of our policy any more than every Labour vote agrees with the Labour Party or every Conservative vote agrees with the Conservative Party. Protest politics is part of British politics and has been for all the parties for a very long time.
But do you think people here are really aware of the details of your policy? For instance, that you're going to put up income tax?
Well, do you suppose at the height of Mrs. Thatcher's powers that every person in Britain could explain to you monetary theory? The answer is, of course, they don't.
People they knew she cut taxes. Do they know you'll put them up?
We've told them quite bluntly that if there is a price to be paid for this government's economic bungling, how we pay for that price. I don't believe you can be more frank and honest than that.
Genteel, prosperous Christchurch was never going to be fertile ground for the Labour Party. But tonight they face annihilation. They could lose their deposit. Not good news when they're trying to convince people that they're not just strong in the north and Scotland, but they can make real inroads in the south of England.
Hello. Mr. Payne.
Hiya for Labour.
Labour's candidate is a voter-friendly sort of soul, a million miles from the type of hairy trade unionist who used to scare the denizens of the deep south. Nigel Lickley looks like a merchant banker. In fact, he's a barrister. His job is not so much to get elected as to show the respectable face of Mr. Smith's Labour Party.
What we've found is that people are very, very clear that they want to get rid of the Conservative government, but that they're actually far more positive than we've seen for some time in saying that they do want to see a Labour government. They want that change, and they want it for positive as well as negative reasons.
Actual voters are a rare breed, and the optimism is a bit hard to justify when you don't have any real evidence to show for it. So Labour are in the awkward position of again having to fend off talk of pacts by bashing the real challengers.
I don't think a Liberal victory in this by-election will have any great effect. It's been discounted. It's been discounted by the Conservative Party, who gave up before they started, refusing even to meet the business community in this constituency. It's been discounted by the press and the media. But one understands the temptation. The temptation at a by-election is to say, well, let's do whatever sends a strong message to the government, and people think, well, not having a Conservative MP is the top priority in doing that.
1, 2, 3,
The people of Christchurch are fond of their ducking stool, and a by-election is an opportunity to inflict a similar punishment on a government that's lost their trust. The point wouldn't be the pain, but the public humiliation. But the real break with the habit of 2 decades would be if they voted for the opposition parties out of conviction rather than despair.